So welcome back at Salzburgring for the second round of the Eastern European TCR. We beg your pardon for the slight delay in commentary. We're trying to make our way onto the starting grid, but sometimes technical issues are more than what we can figure out. And it's a long walk, I need to say, from the front row of the grid. So that's what we had to do. Either way, the cars are now on the formation lap. And just like yesterday, it's going to be quite an eventful race, mainly in terms of finding their way through the pack of back markers. We actually managed to speak briefly with Adam Koht yesterday because it was a very unusual situation. He says it's like navigating through the endurance races where you've got multiple categories. At least nobody was making any unexpected moves or weaving uncontrollably. So although it's a challenge of its own to be going around a lot slower cars, at least the discipline was rather okay, and that means that no incidents came out of that. Additive racing cars helped each other a little bit in yesterday's race, which helped Martin Kadlečík close in on Adam Koht quite a lot. However, still Adam Koht managed to stay ahead and score his first victory of this season, with Martin Kadlečík taking wins in both races the last time out in Croatia. So we have again the TCR cars joined by the Croatian Championship, because we've only got 5 of them this weekend. And the order is the same like yesterday. Adam Koht on pole, alongside him Martin Kadlečík, then Žarko Knego, Jiří Zbožinek and Radim Adamek completing the top 5, and then Ivica Maric leading the Croatian Championship standings. The green flag is already in the air, therefore the red lights are now coming on. And we're underway again. The starting marshal being very quick with releasing and extinguishing the lights, just like he does pretty much all weekend, and therefore we are already headed towards the first corner. Adam Koht taking defense line, driving through the middle part of the track. Martin Kadlečík did have a look right and left. In the end, slots in behind. Through the slight kinks of turns number 3 and 4, and into the first helix. Up the hill we go with Adam Koht and Martin Kadlečík close together now, slipstreaming behind one another. They are already pulling ahead away from Žarko Knego and Jiří Zbožinek, the other 2 Elantras in the field. Radim Adamek a little further back. So Adam leading us away again. Martin Kadlečík will try to stay close to him. He did enjoy a lot of simulator work, thanks to race gear guys that have their simulators on site, just like last weekend in Grobnik, providing opportunities to try the track on the simulator, and also being part of the F4 Academy, where the young guys racing in the Twingo Cup go through various disciplines, go through various, let's say, areas, as they are now learning their way into motorsport world. They are learning how to tackle media, also physical and mental preparation, and these days very important sim racing part of race drivers' preparations. So the Croatian pack also at the end of their lap number 1. There's my personal favorite car, number 103, Tutto Bene. Today with the exhaust attached a lot better to the car. So far no issues there. Yesterday it was Andrea Čutić who had to start from the pits and then entered them twice again for technical troubles. But Adam Koht trying to pull away from Martin Kadlečík. setting the fastest lap on the opening lap of the race, but now going even faster, 124.868. Martin only managed 125.6. So there's already a 1.5 seconds between them. Žarko Knego. He's not closing in, honestly. He did 125.868, so he was actually exactly 1 second slower than Adam. And then very similar time for Jiří Zbožínek as well, 125.891. There they are together. Zbožínek trying to get himself up on the podium, where he was yesterday. Žarko Knego in trouble during that race. Parked his car on the outside of the first chicane. Round about halfway through the race. We now have slight issue with the graphics, so give us a little time. In the meantime, we can still watch the fight for third between the two Elantras, with of course Janík Motorsport, not exactly the works team, but official partner of the factory of Hyundai Motorsport. Adam Coate, this is again something that we discussed yesterday, flashing the headlights. Martin Kadlečík also trying to make Bruno Filippi see him in his Toyota Yaris 1.5. And we are already collecting back markers on the third lap or fourth lap of the race. This is what we discussed, because normally you do use your headlights and sometimes even flash them, of course. Even in the TCR race, sometimes you just try to unnerve the opponent right ahead of you or just signal something, but you don't really use it that much. But here it's a honestly big exercise for your right thumb. Probably for this race the cars would need a new function. Just turn it on and the headlights would keep flashing automatically, because sometimes you just need to keep them on or keep them flashing for a long time, like for example the entire back straight. So Adam said, yeah, my thumb was really well exercised after the race. And there we go again, one of the Civics, car number 195, hoving into view. That's Domagoj Šaškor. And there is Andrea Čutic in his Peugeot 106. So far, everything is tutto bene for him in today's race. Among the Croatian field, it's Ivica Maric who kept the lead from the start. He's lapping around about 10 seconds slower than the race leader Adam Coate. Maro Franic in second, but a distant second within the Croatian Championship. He drives the Seat Leon from the former World Touring Car Championship days, so it's actually sort of a TCR car, but already a very, very old one, because it's even the I was going to say original Leon. It was not the first generation, but it's generation-wise, it's already a pretty old machine. That's the last of the sort of round-shaped Leons before they got much sharper designs over the past, let me say, 10 years. Luka Blažević in 8th from Igor Ilić and Walter Nežić. Walter Nežić, he, I believe, was part of the race earlier on, car number 55. We've also got Tomislav Jaklin and Vladimir Jaklin. They withdrew from the Renault Clio Cup Bohemia and rather entered this championship. And there was one of them currently being lapped by Žarko Knego and Jirka Zbožínek. Martin Kadlečík seems to have closed back on Adam. No, he did not. So the graphics aren't still entirely correct. The gap between them across the line previously was 2.6 seconds, with Adam Kolt still lapping about half a second faster. Let's see about now. There is Kolt trying to overtake Walter Nežič. Nežič lets him through by skipping the first chicane. Also one of the ways to do it. Just look at the speed difference. I mean, when they overtake the Yaris or the old Clio, they just disappear immediately. And now lapping Tutto Bene. But there is your race leader, there's the second placed man. And again, his car, when it's cornering flat, looks like his bodywork is coming in contact with the tyre. It's set up rather extremely for the difficult right-hander of turn 11. So plumes of smoke coming from underneath the bodywork of the Aditis Racing prepared RS3 Audi, driven by Martin Kadlečík. He's again enjoying support and sort of mentoring from team's previous driver Bartosz Groszek, who was the 2022 series champion in that colossal fight with Petr Semerad back then, that culminated in Autodrom Most in the season finale. That was really a good season back then. When we came off the back of the reigns and dominance of Milovan Vesnic, we had the COVID year 2020. That was then dominated by I'm actually trying to remember the name, honestly. Dusan Borkovic, yes. Dusan Borkovic, the guy very well known also from the World Touring Car Championship. And then in 2021 it was the big fight between Michal Makeš and Tomáš Pekas, who went on to race in TCR in a Cupra Leon, just as Jiří Zbožínek is now piling the pressure on Žarko Knego in one of the bigger fights of the day. So Michal Makeš was fighting Tomáš Pekas back in 2021, eventually coming out on top in his Mechanik Motorsport prepared Leon. Then in 2022 came the big fight between Bartosz Groszek and Petr Semerad. And then following 2 years were the reigns of Maťo Homola in Janík Motorsport Elantra. Even when they started, actually, they got the car so fresh to the Hungaroring opening, season opener, the cars weren't even painted and they were racing in all white livery. But since then in the traditional Hyundai Motorsport colors, Maťo Homola taking 2 titles along the way, his first titles in the TCR world, having gained great experience also in the European Series and not really being unsuccessful there. And last year was already the year of Adam Kout and his first championship title. This year he's after a second one. But he's finding big opposition in the name of Martin Kadlečík, who worked his way up through the rankings, actually from simulator racing through the Twingo Cup and then Clio Cup, which he dominated, into the world of TCR. Jirka Zbožínek had a little look down the inside. One of the cars smoking, coming back to the pits, and that's definitely one of the Aditis Racing's Audis. Was that Kadlečík? I'm wondering now. Which car is it? It is the car number 301. There's trouble for Martin Kadlečík. More smoke coming from underneath his car. There he is, getting back to his mechanics. There's trouble for Martin Kadlečík, and that means he's losing second. And that is a big blow to his championship hopes, because this now hands a lot of points and a big points difference to Adam Kout that he can make this weekend. So similar disaster that befell Adam Kout in Croatia. Let's see if Martin Kadlečík can get going again, because if not, this would probably effectively hand the championship lead to Adam Kout. Let's see. Žárko Knego therefore up to second from Jiří Zbožínek. Martin Kadlečík in the pits. But the big question is for how long, and that's what we said. Was it actually a problem with the tyre, a problem with the bodywork? Because there was again smoke coming from underneath the car. They had the same issue already yesterday. Well, there's one of the cars parked on the side of the road anyway. One of the Croatian cars. We've already lost a couple of those cars already. There were three non-starters actually. It looks like it was probably Nikola Vatovic on the side of the road. There he is. That's the 106 Peugeot. Is that car number 405? Very much could be. It's interesting. It's just one of sort of little side joke, but maybe a little later, because Jiří Zbožínek has finally made the move on Žárko Knego and taken second place off his hands. Knego is not done just yet. They are both lapping another car. That might very well actually be Franjo Knego in his Ford Fiesta. And Knego goes back to second. What I wanted to say as a little side joke, we saw Nikola Vatovic in his Peugeot 106, car number 405. When Jiří Zbožínek sticking his nose down the inside into the S's, not exactly the place where you normally overtake, but nobody's banning it either. It's just that it seems like a little smarter move to try and do it here into the first chicane, but of course Žárko Knego glues his car to the inside line, not to let Jiří Zbožínek into any sort of chance, but he has to take a worse line through the chicane, so this will now hand a little bit of a performance advantage to Zbožínek. Again, Knego trying to not give any place on the inside. This is a very important corner more than 14 seconds separating this duo from the race leader, Adam Kout. Martin Kadlečík is back on track, presumably. Yes, he is. So drives in 5th. Those will be valuable points for him as well. And they have another race later on today. Already just the 5 of them without the Croatian guys. So hard under braking, careful for the Fiesta. That was Božinek flashing his headlights in an attempt to somehow disrupt the concentration of Žarko. Just under 6 minutes left in this race. And there is now Martin Kadlečík, but he's overtaking Adam Kout. Normally I would be a lot more excited about this and shout a lot more about it, but this time it's just Martin unlapping himself, having been in the pits, but now he's being shown the blue flag. Ooh, and that's a big disaster for one of the Peugeots. The engine presumably blowing up, maybe completely misshifting or money shifting, as I learned they call it. Ooh, and Martin actually did not make it round the corner. Has to follow the Peugeot of Blažević, Nikša Blažević. Sorry, that's Theo Blažević. And the car is now on fire. That's Tomislav Jaklin in trouble. This is suddenly calling for a safety car. Let's calm everybody down. This is Radim Adamek in 4th. Martin Kadlečík, he was trying to unlap himself. Then they both came across this guy, and Martin Kadlečík somehow had an issue turning into the first corner. Red flags are out. The race is going to be stopped and maybe even called off because the program is still quite packed. So I'm wondering whether we're going to restart the race at all. Yeah, the graphics keep on going, but we're going to have to take them down because the clock stopped at 4 minutes 16 seconds. That's the time to remember. We, of course, have the red flag. And that was a traumatic engine expiration for Theo Blažević from AK Ragusa Racing. There it is. Fire marshals just trying to see whether there's any more work for them. Everybody returning back to the pits. We're going to see what's going to happen next. Race will not be resumed. I'm now reading on the race control messaging board, which means that it is done and dusted, and that means that Adam Kout takes the second victory of the weekend from Žarko Knego, Jiří Božinek, Radim Adamek in 4th, and Martin Kadlečík coming home in 5th on the road, still handing him valuable points, which means then that very probably he will not lose the championship lead, but it will be tight. Now, okay, there's a lot to clear A lot to fix. There's a lot of gravel on the track in the final S's. There might actually even be oil on the approach to the first chicane after this engine blew up. Yes, there is. That's not going to be nice for all the other drivers in the races that are coming up next. We still have one more to go before we take a lunch break, so there will be the third race of Formula 4 Central European Zone, this time Groups A and C. So we're going to see some drivers from yesterday and some drivers from today. But for example, the double race winner Ilya Weiss, he's already done everything he could, and he will not reappear in race number 3, but he will be taking part in the weekend's finale later on at 15:55. Past the lunch break, we have got the second Swift Cup race, then third race of TCR Eastern Europe, this time presumably without the Croatian Championship. Then we have got Twingo Cup race number 2. That's going to be a little rush for me to get from here and back here, because then we will top the weekend off with the absolute finale of the Central European Formula 4.
Startaufstellung für das große Final-Race Nummer 4 um 15:55 Uhr heute Nachmittag. Das ist der letzte Punkt auf der Zeitentabelle.
So the car of Tomislav Jaklin needs to be taken away. You also see that the rest of the pack, the cars already being driven into Parc Fermé, which is in the support paddock. So everybody just drove through the pit lane and all around the paddock, through the back, and now through the driveway back to the support paddock, where there is already Parc Fermé prepared for everybody. The TCR cars are trying to get ahead, get to the front of it, because they will still need to be taken out of the Parc Fermé for the third race. That is coming later on at 14:25. As I mentioned, and in the meantime, the stricken car of Tomislav Jaklin is being pulled out of the gravel trap. So this is the Parc Fermé I was talking about. Also, you see the Clios, for which the weekend has already ended. So still a lot to do. There is another Formula 4 race coming exactly at noon for us, and then we are going to take an hour-long lunch break before we'll be back with the rest of the program.